ChatGPT versus Microsoft Copilot for web development. What we're gonna do today is I already have 3 prompts written up. Each one of these AI tools are going to get the same prompt for web development, and we're gonna see which one gives us the best templates and the best content to start with for our websites and web development needs. If you guys want to see something specific in upcoming videos or think I left something out, go down in the comments and let me know, and I'll be sure to include your suggestion. We're going to be starting off with ChatGPT with a really basic prompt, and then as we go forward into this video, the prompts will get more complex and more specific. But we're going to start off with create a website template using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Give me your best. Once this is done generating, I'm going to take this code and put it into Visual Studio Code, and we're going to see what we get. And then we're going to take this exact same prompt and put it in Copilot. And as you guys can see, it gave us HTML and CSS, but literally gave us nothing for JavaScript. All right, we have all our code up here loaded in. Go ahead and refresh, see what we get. So as you guys can see, we get a real basic template here. This is really similar to what it gave us for the ChatGPT versus Google Gemini video. If you missed that, there'll be a link right now. So not too much different from what it generated in that video. I was hoping it would give us something a little bit different this time, not something exactly the same, just so plain Jane like it always does here, but we didn't really give it a super specific prompt, so I kind of understand that. Now let's go into Microsoft Copilot and put in this same prompt. See if this gives us something better. It may even be kind of similar, but we'll also look at the code to see if the code is created a little bit cleaner than ChatGPT. So major difference that I can see right off the bat is that this is including JavaScript, and for some reason it is not linking to a separate style sheet or a separate JavaScript file. What it's doing is it's just creating it all in one file here. And obviously that's a quick fix, but I want to give the same prompt and see the habits of each AI tool and see how they work differently from each other, or perhaps the same. So for this one, we're not even going to need to create a separate style sheet because again, it's all in the same thing. So we're just going to go ahead and paste it in our index and go ahead and save and then refresh. As you guys can see, I was making fun of ChatGPT for being pretty plain Jane, but as you guys can see, this is really plain from Microsoft Copilot. I mean, it doesn't even use colors or anything to distinguish it. So let's put these side by side and see what we got from both. So as you guys can see on the left, ChatGPT definitely gave us a much better looking and easier to work with template than Microsoft Copilot did. It didn't even distinguish it with colors like it did over here for our navigation / header and our footer. And then the main is obviously the white part here, but for this, we don't even have a navigation, we don't have a footer, we don't have any level of anything here really. I mean, it just added text and then a button right there. I mean, that's really all it did. Let's go ahead and take a look at the code of both of these now and see what is going on. So look guys, check it out. Check out how much more complex the code that ChatGPT gave us. I mean, to be honest with you, it's not complex in the sense that it's really complex. It's still really basic, but compared to what Microsoft Copilot gave us, it's much more complex. So again, it just created everything within one file, which I don't really like. I like it to automatically assume that I'm going to be putting it in different files because that's the best practice when you're a web developer, and that's the way you need to create your websites. But look over here, so it created us a navigation inside our header, used the correct elements. It's using the main element, a section within that main, and a footer with our JavaScript file tied in right here at the bottom. So this is the best practice when it comes to web development, and it's using all the essential elements to get you started without having to type it all up from scratch. Over here in Microsoft Copilot, you can see that the styles are really basic, and literally all it gave us was a single div with an H1, a paragraph, and a button element within that. So we still have to go back and create our header, our nav, our main, our footer, literally everything, because Microsoft didn't even include really anything. And it put JavaScript function to show an alert. Like, I don't know, I guess when you click on the button, it'll do something, which is kind of cool that it's adding that right off the bat, but I'd rather start off with a better template than start off with JavaScript code when there's really no template or anything to work on. Let's look at the styles that it gave us. So as you guys can see, definitely ChatGPT gave us a lot more styling here and was a lot more detailed in this basic template. Now we're going to be moving on to our next prompt. With this prompt, we're going to be asking ChatGPT and Copilot to create a 4-column layout using CSS grid, create a square within each one of our grid elements. Then the grid should be 80% of the view width of our screen and should be responsive for mobile devices as the view width shrinks. Go ahead and enter that and see what we can get from ChatGPT. ChatGPT is doing what Microsoft Copilot did with our first prompt. It's not creating a separate style sheet. It's just using a style element here, which is something that I don't like when it does, because I think it should assume that you're gonna put it in a different CSS file. But we're gonna take this code and put it in Visual Studio. We did get a grid layout, it looks like. It definitely is using grid, it's using 4 columns, but did it center it like I asked? No, it's not centering it right in the middle. Let's see how responsive this is. Okay, but it is responsive. I guess to be fair, it is responsive in the sense that I asked for it. I didn't say to center the overall container. Let's go ahead and see here. No, the overall container is centered. I asked it to make each one of these squares 50% of its parent element, which it is doing, but I also asked for it to be centered within each one of its parents here, which it is not. So obviously a really quick and easy fix, but we're really comparing what the templates are that you get right off the bat with your first prompt without making any edits here today. So definitely good so far. What I want to do is check one more thing. Let's make this as small as we possibly can and see if it goes down to 1 element. It does go down to 1 element, so that's perfect. It's completely responsive here. So we have a completely responsive grid without having to write up the code from scratch ourselves. So not too bad of a showing from ChatGPT. Now let's see what Copilot can do for us. Go ahead and enter this prompt in there and see what Copilot is going to generate us. And I really want to see if so ChatGPT versus Copilot. Copilot is definitely generating slow. I mean, it's still really fast at doing what it does, but comparatively against ChatGPT definitely does it quicker. So Microsoft Copilot is actually generating us more what I was looking for. I really wanted it to be centered in the middle like this, and that's exactly what I was looking for. But what it's not doing here is it's not making our square 50% of the parent here. You can tell that it's 100%. So maybe that's why it's centering, because it didn't even get as far as making our squares 50% of the parent element like ChatGPT did here. And you can see that because these squares are taking up that entire grid portion for each one. So overall, it's not doing too bad. Let's see if it goes down to 1. It starts at 4 columns, goes down to 2 columns, but what we wanted to do is also go down to 1 at the end, which it's not doing, but ChatGPT did include that. So let's go ahead and compare both of them side by side. As you can see, I don't think either one did really bad. I think it was pretty close on both ends. The only issue that Chat had was that it didn't center these squares within each one of their parent elements. But over here in Microsoft Copilot, it didn't even make our elements 50% of the parent element like ChatGPT did. And over here on the left with our ChatGPT code, when you shrink it down all the way, it does turn into 1 column, which is exactly what I was looking for. But Microsoft, it doesn't do that. It only goes from 4 columns down to 2 columns. So again, ChatGPT comes out on top. Again, we're gonna start off first with ChatGPT. Microsoft Copilot has a lot of ground to make up because it's definitely not doing as well as ChatGPT is so far. So here we go. It's creating multiple pages just like we asked. And while that generates, I want to show you guys my prompt up here. So I wanted to create a website. I'm asking it to create a navigation, a footer, and 3 separate pages. I'm asking for a layout on the shirts page, assuming that we're going to be an e-commerce website, and I want that to be set up with a grid. And then for our about page, I want a template for an image on the right with text to the left, and a hero image on the home page with a button and text within the hero image. So I'm getting really specific. If you guys want to directly look at that prompt, it will be down below in the comments for you guys to read. We do successfully have a navigation. Let's check it out. Is it creating our grid layout? Let's go check our code. Maybe it created our grid layout here. It put a section here where we should add our grid, but it didn't create the grid for us. I wanted it to create the grid for us. That's what I asked for, but it failed to do that. But it did set up the proper template where we can add our grid, but that's okay so far. Let's go to our about page. So there's nothing on the about page here, but let's go look at our code. So again, it literally just put a placeholder for image and text right here. So we have to go set that all up ourselves. Again, that's not what I asked for. I asked it to set up a template for an image and then some text off to the left, but it did fail to do that. But overall, still not a bad template. I could easily come in here and add everything I need for the rest of this website, change out the colors, and we do successfully have our footer down below at the bottom. Now, let's take that same prompt and give Copilot a try. All right, here we go. Now we're gonna enter it into Copilot and see what we can get. Oh man, so Copilot's just not doing well. It literally only created an index page, and then it literally says create the other two pages completely on my own, but that's not at all what I asked for. I asked it to create all 3 pages and the styling for me so I don't have to set it up. But as you guys can see, it just expects me to create it all on my own, which I can do, but that's not what I asked Copilot to do. I asked it to create all 3 of the pages and templates for all 3 based on my prompt. So we're still gonna try and move this over into Visual Studio Code and give it one last chance. All right, we have all our code moved over. Now for the moment of truth here. Ooh, so actually not doing such a bad job right now. Obviously our text is white, but once we put an image, it should be okay. Explore button is there exactly how I asked. The sitemap down here, I would rather it put the links, but ChatGPT did the same thing, it's just putting sitemap. And then privacy policy is here as a link like I asked. A spot for our logo, and our navigation is here and functional. Let's go check out the shirts page. So I already forgot, it didn't create anything for the shirts page, and it didn't create anything for the about page. We have to create those all by ourselves from scratch. Obviously we can use these template elements in here again, but that's not what I asked it to do. I asked Copilot to create all 3 pages for me, but it did not, when ChatGPT definitely did. I think if Copilot kept going and generated up these 2 more pages here, it definitely would rival ChatGPT. And again, I could go write a whole nother prompt and ask it to create these 2 pages, but I really wanted to see just with one prompt how these AI tools would act and what their habits are. With Copilot, it seems that you're gonna have to write up a lot more prompts to get what you want versus ChatGPT. Let's go ahead and look at this code real quick. It did include everything that I asked for, at least when it comes to the index page and the styles page. It did successfully add everything we wanted here. And as you can see, it actually did a good job adding the template for our hero image here. You can see that the CSS includes background image, background size is cover, and everything that we need to get that hero image going. And ChatGPT didn't include that, so Copilot did do a better job in this sense of getting us ready for our homepage, but it didn't give us anything for the other 2 pages. So you guys can see these side to side. I think based on our homepage, I think Copilot gave us a better template to start with, because ChatGPT gave us everything we asked for except for the CSS for the hero image, which is probably the most important part when you're making this type of a website. But Copilot didn't give us a shirts page and didn't give us an about page when ChatGPT did, even though it didn't really get specific on our code here. Let me know which one you guys think did better today. I definitely think ChatGPT did much better based on the prompts that we gave it here today. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. I'd love hearing from you. And if you guys want to see any specific prompts or want to see part 2, let me know what you want to see in those videos down below, and I'll be sure to include your suggestions on this channel. Thanks so much for watching. I hope today was fun. I love messing around with these tools. Have a great day.